Hey there, it's Stephanie Shea, Chief Astrologer for janspiller.com with your April 2024 astrological overview. We're going to be maybe feeling impatient. I think that's a good encapsulation for the month of April because we're really having a lot of high energy Aries astrology. I'm going to talk about the Aries New Moon Eclipse. However, Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Aries. I think Mercury retrograde in Aries is probably one of the most frustrating cycles because here's Mercury in this fast-moving sign that wants to start new things, but it's not the right time to do that. So we're going to have to be very, very patient. Even if we're really excited about the next big idea, we need to slow down and recognize what needs to be completed before we make another major commitment. This is actually a great month to avoid a problem down the road. So if we can curb our impulses and proceed slowly, think about wrapping up the past, we're actually going to set us up for a lot of success by the time we come out of this retrograde, which is April 25th. So the official Mercury retrograde dates are April 1st to April 25th. Now, the other thing that's really amping up the energy this month is the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. You may have been hearing a lot about this aspect. It's a little more rare as far as outer planet aspects. And if you'd like to refer to the video on this site, my colleague KJ Atlas from the Jan Spiller website has some great information to share about the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. It's going to be exact on April 20th, but I believe that we'll be feeling it all month, pretty much. It's going to help us really do some big picture dreaming. So again, the visioning, the dreaming, the intention setting, that is all 100% supported this month. It's just the initial action, which is not quite ready to happen yet. So this is a month to brainstorm, keep track of our ideas. Teamwork is going to be a really strong theme, I think, for the whole month. And we've got a full moon that's going to be on the 23rd of April. That's at 4 degrees Scorpio. So anybody who's born late October around the 27th is likely to feel this the most intensely, but it's not an eclipse, so that's good. But definitely with those Scorpio full moons, people tend to maybe obsess on things, blow things out of proportion. It won't be the best time to try to solve a problem on that day. But again, a few days later, Mercury is going to go direct on April 25th. And then as we move into the last week of the month, moving towards May, I think we're going to get a lot of clarity and be able to kind of focus in on what we know is the best course of action with kind of a laser-like focus. Now, let's back up and really dive into this Aries new moon eclipse. I think hands down, this is the most powerful new moon of the year. And the reason is Aries new moons are already kind of like the astrological new year. If you followed these videos, you know I sort of consider there to be two astrological new years. There's the day that the sun moves into Aries, which is March 19th of this year. And then there's the very first Aries new moon, and that kicks off the whole lunar cycle all over again for the year. So the thing with the Aries new moon is it's amazing for intention setting for the coming year. And of course, anybody who was born on or around April 8th, this is a big year for you. Don't expect things to stay the same. Use this year to make those big changes you've been wanting to make for yourself. Now, the eclipse makes it even more powerful. So those who have read Jan Spiller's book, New Moon Astrology, know that the solar eclipse amplifies manifestation energy. The solar eclipse is going to activate our enthusiasm for a personal goal and the need for independent accomplishment. This is a 6-month cycle. So over the next 6 months, starting April 8th, we'll all be learning the importance of doing things for ourselves and maintaining our personal strength in order to show up more effectively in our relationships. And if you have around 19 degrees Aries rising, that's the degree of this eclipse, you might also be really feeling that you're being reborn this year in a certain way, being seen in a new light. Solar eclipses, that, as I said, initiate a 6-month cycle of growth. So I think some of the other lessons to work with in the coming 6 months, and you can think about that with your new moon intentions, is learning to make things happen for ourselves, but maintaining the ability to stay aware of those around us, right? The Aries energy requires being handled with care. I know this one, I'm a double Aries. For those of you who've been following these videos, Aries sun, Aries rising. And it can be really easy to get so focused on the goal ahead that you don't look under your feet and see who or what you might be trampling. A bed of flowers, your friend's foot. You see where I'm going with this. So when you're pursuing goals, really adopt a spirit of community. Don't forget to cheer other people on in their pursuits. Because this eclipse is within 4 degrees of an exact conjunction with the North Node, we're going to have the ability to attract opportunities that are destined for us. So just keep all this in mind with the backdrop of Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is going to be at 6 degrees, or I should say it's 6 degrees away from the eclipse. So that's going to really add that impatient energy, I think. We might be so excited. We want to make that phone call, pitch that idea. Unless you've already agreed upon these plans in advance, just hold your horses. I had a good conversation with a client recently, and I said, if we've already made a business agreement with somebody and the plan is just to follow through with a pitch during Mercury retrograde, is that okay? That if everything has been prearranged, the people know what you're going to talk about. You're not throwing them any curveballs. Go ahead and have the conversation with the caveat, nothing is to be signed or sealed or agreed upon during the retrograde. You can say, here's some food for that. Think about this. Let's regroup after April 25th and finalize our plan. I think that'll work beautifully. But if you were to approach somebody you never met and said, hey, I want to talk about a business idea with you, I'd love to introduce myself, not so supported during Mercury retrograde. So that's how I make that fine distinction. Now, the other exciting astrology this month is that Uranus-Jupiter conjunction. It's going to be exact at 21 degrees of Taurus on April 20th. And we haven't had a conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus for quite some time. If you check out the video on the site again, KJ will tell you more about this. I don't want to steal her thunder, but it's definitely a time where the arts can flourish. Uranus is the ruler of what's unconventional and unpredictable. And when it's working with Jupiter, the planet of optimism, we may find some surprises as far as the way problems can get solved. Both Jupiter and Uranus carry themes of going to extremes. It could be helpful for people to really notice what's not working in our society on an exaggerated level and finally say enough is enough. There is a revolutionary theme present with this aspect. It could manifest in the form of strikes and other public demonstrations of dissent. But again, it's sort of a fertile ground for new ideas and especially creative arts expression. On a personal level, we can tap into our own personal resources of creative energy. We're being called to expand our enjoyment of life and stand up for our right to creative expression. So this month is a great time to look at how we're using our time and money and how we're caring for ourselves. Taurus is all about self-care, right? And proceeding in a way that's sustainable. There could be environmental themes present as well, globally and in our own lives. and notice what areas are ripe for growth and expansion in our life. The willingness to stick to our values while staying adaptable about the method we use to reach our goals, I think is going to be the key for our success. So now the other big aspect that hasn't gone away is Chiron, the the planet that I'd say is associated with healing. Is conjunct the North Node. It was exact back in February, but guess what? It's still happening until the middle of May. It's gradually separating. Um, this aspect will be quite active this month. This astrology combines Chiron, the wounded healer, and the North Node, our guiding compass to success. That's a powerful combination. With this conjunction in the sign of Aries, the level of healing is quite personal, but it can have a ripple effect to the entire world. Chiron in Aries represents the wound of self, and it can manifest in different forms such as lack of confidence, self loathing, feelings of unworthiness, and being afraid to be one's true self. Now, the North Node in Aries is much more symbolizing the highest expression of this sign. So, whenever you see the North Node in a sign, you're not really getting a lot of the shadow effects. I'd say the North Node is probably the only astrological point, um, or none of the planets can only exhibit the highest expression of a sign, but the North Node, that's kind of what its function is. It's quite amazing. So when you think of the highest expression of Aries, we've got courage, strength, confidence, and self-love. This special aspect is here to help everyone on the planet to love themselves, and that's going to result in them treating other humans with greater respect. So anyone who is an Aries or who has Chiron in the sign of Aries is slated for the most amount of healing under this Chiron North Node conjunction. But everyone can benefit from this. Over the next 6 weeks, this aspect will be separating. So the time is really now, this month, to think about what we can all do on an individual level to make ourselves more whole and show up in the world as our best selves. This is all about us caring for ourselves so that we can then be better people in the world. I'm really, yeah, I'll be sad to see this conjunction go. I think that we've really needed that. Now, we talked mostly about this Mercury retrograde. I'll give you some of the statistics on it. It's April 1st to 25th, as I mentioned. It's traveling from 27 to 16 degrees of Aries, and it's definitely going to make us feel restless. So the advice for this is to keep ourselves busy with tasks that we know need to be finished. If you start to feel bored, the best bet is try and make your routines more fun and exciting by adjusting your attitude. Challenge yourself, that's an Aries thing, to make the daily rhythm of your life feel unique through personal expression, doing things in your own style. There's ways to mix it up without totally revamping your life right now. Now, anyone born between April 6th and 18th of any year could feel the strongest effects of Mercury retrograde in Aries. It's going to pass over your sun. Aries is a sign that rules our passion as well as our anger. So anyone, regardless of their birthday, could be reviewing some of the more, I'd say, fiery moments of their lives this month. And the astrology is going to offer the ideal opportunity to finally let go of any passionate or angry feelings that have really been hindering your personal growth. It might just be time to let it go, whether it's passionate unrequited love, passionate anger, and you want to get back at somebody. That is actually so draining. And so look for ways you can make peace with the past by offering forgiveness or closure in person, or if that's not possible, through a ritual on your own. Now, the rest of the month, we're pretty much looking at some inner planets activity. Venus is in Aries. I told you there was a lot of Aries energy this month. And Venus is traveling through Aries April 5th to 28th. And when it's in Aries, it's considered to be in its detriment because Venus is ruled by Libra, the sign opposite Aries. However, I hesitate to even use those terms because plenty of people were born with Venus and Aries, and they've learned how to maximize the power of this planetary placement. What I like about Venus and Aries is it represents the grace and beauty that can be accessed when we're standing in our inner authority and power. So even if you weren't born with Venus and Aries, everybody's getting a dose of this and an opportunity to feel more self-possessed. Instead of focusing on what others might think of us, we could release feelings of self-consciousness and begin confidently doing what we know is right. Aries rules physical strength, so I would say this is a good month to work on strengthening our bodies. However, Mercury retrograde. So don't take on a new sport or activity or try to go all out. You can find the most success when you're reconnecting with physical movement that you're familiar with, that your body already knows how to do, and you're not trying to break any new records. We've got Mars in Pisces almost the entire month. It's not going to enter Aries until April 30th. Mars in Pisces can be quite interesting because Mars is known for taking direct action. And the sign of Pisces is much more apt to feel things out before making a move. So I think this is going to add, unfortunately, to the feelings of restlessness. We'll need to be extra mindful about our impulses, do some very intentional practices. This is a good month for meditation, for putting in a pause before reacting. I think we're more likely to get distracted while Mars is in Pisces, and we might end up putting effort into something without thinking it through. That's very Mars in Pisces. So it's going to be helpful to take some time outs during the day to gather our thoughts. Like I said, it doesn't have to be an official meditation, but something that helps ground you, helps you regroup. You're not just acting on autopilot. Right. The idealism offered by Mars in Pisces can be quite powerful. It's an excellent month for any kind of charitable organizations or groups seeking to make positive change in the world. With that said, there can be a tendency to take on more than can be practically accomplished. So we're going to need to step back and assess all our plans and determine time, energy, and resources that will be required. So that's my tips for working with Mars and Pisces this month. I think we covered all the big headlines. This is one of the bigger astrologically active months of the year. And once we get through this April 8th solar eclipse, we're kind of done with eclipse season until the next pair of eclipses in the fall. So again, as we move through the month, start heading towards May, we're going to start feeling maybe some of this intensity lift and be able to take what we've learned, what has come up during this month, and put it to some really productive use next month in May. So I hope you have a wonderful month of April. Happy birthday to all you Aries out there, and I will see you next month with your astrological overview.